The auction house hummed with fluorescent light, cold, buzzing, indifferent, as if the very air knew no one would care enough to raise a hand for lot number 47. A trembling bay foal, barely 4 months old, ribs pressing against skin like whispered secrets no one wanted to hear. Legs too long, coat dull, eyes already old with fear. The auctioneer's voice droned, "Starting bid, $25. Silence. Not a cough, not a shuffle, just the hollow echo of rejection. Until a hand rose, fast, instinctive, against reason, against logic. Just $50 for a life no one else saw value in. And in that single, quiet gesture, everything changed. Not just for the foal, but for an entire criminal empire hidden beneath the dust of the desert. What happened next? Well, when rancher Eli Dawson brought that scrawny foal home, whom he would already named Rust for the faint glow of sunset clinging to his coat, his longtime foreman Jess Harlow just stared, arms crossed, and said, "You bought a ghost, Eli, a walking vet bill with hooves." And maybe he was right, at first. Rust was starved, dehydrated, trembling at the slightest sound. But when Eli ran his fingers gently along the foal's neck, he froze, there, just beneath the skin, a smooth, hard lump, round, deliberate, not a standard microchip. Wild Mustangs didn't carry those. And the rope burns on his legs, the unnatural wear on his hooves, like concrete, not desert rock. This wasn't just neglect. This was design. Within hours, Dr. Mara Lynn, steady-handed, sharp-eyed, the kind of vet who de-stitched up wolves and delivered calves in blizzards, confirmed it. This isn't a tracker for lost pets, Eli. This is military-grade GPS. Hidden, active. Someone wanted to follow this foal, every step, every breath. And then, the terror made sense. Rust panicked at the drone of helicopters, not like prey startled by noise, but like a prisoner hearing cell doors clang open. He'd bolt, eyes wide, sweat beading on his neck, when dark trucks rumbled past the ranch gate, and men in black caps. He'd scream, a sound no horse should ever make, hooves slamming against stall walls like he was trying to dig his way into another world. "This isn't wild behavior," Jess whispered, voice rough. "This is memory. This is trauma." So they waited, just long enough to get Rust strong. 3 days and nights of bottle feeding every 3 hours, of warming blankets, of soft words and silence when silence was needed. And then, under Dr. Lynn's careful hands, the incision was made. And out came the device, sleek, metallic, humming faintly even now. Not evidence of ownership, but of exploitation. Within hours, federal agents swept in, led by Agent Claire Vance, whose calm voice hid the fire in her eyes, and the truth unraveled like a snare trap snapping open. Cartels. Not just stealing horses, but weaponizing them. They'd snatch young foals from wild herds, implant trackers, release them back into the desert, and then, like shadows slipping between stars, they'd follow the herds across hundreds of miles of untouched land. Herds that moved naturally, that didn't trigger satellite alerts, that made fresh tire tracks and buried caches look like nothing more than Mustang trails. They used nature as camouflage, Agent Vance said, holding the tiny device like a bullet casing. The horses weren't victims. They were unwitting scouts, living decoys. And Rust? He'd been scheduled for the same fate, roundup, auction, retrieval, then silence, likely slaughter, to erase the evidence. But Eli hadn't looked away. He'd seen him, not as damaged goods, but as a soul still fighting to live. The data on that tracker became a map of horror, over 50 rendezvous points, drop zones buried in remote canyons, timing synced perfectly with known drug busts hundreds of miles away. And when they traced the signal's origin to a server farm just south of the border, the arrests exploded. Dozens across 3 states, millions in seized narcotics, a network operating for 2 years, all hidden beneath the quiet rhythm of wild horses roaming free. And at the center of it all, Rust, standing in a sunlit paddock, no longer trembling, his coat now deep, gleaming chestnut, muscles strong, eyes bright, but still watching the horizon, still flinching, just slightly, when a distant engine growled. Because some wounds don't vanish, they become part of your strength. The trials were brutal. Defense lawyers called Rust irrelevant, manipulative, just an animal, until the prosecution played the footage. Rust, safe in the ranch yard, hearing a helicopter on a speaker, and collapsing into blind terror, scrambling backward, legs slipping in the dirt, until Eli knelt, voice low, hand steady on his neck. "Easy, boy. You're home now." That video broke the jury. One man wept. The lead trafficker, a man named Rafael Mendoza, smirked during testimony, and that smirk, frozen in a news photo beside Rust's scarred neck, turned public outrage into a tidal wave. Guilty verdicts in under 4 hours. Sentences adding up to centuries. And Rust? He stayed. Not in some cold government holding pen, but right there at Cedar Ridge Ranch under federal guardianship, yes. But under Eli's care, Jess's quiet watchfulness, Dr. Lynn's weekly checkups. Because healing isn't just about food and medicine, it's about trust. And Rust learned to trust again, not all at once, not without hesitation, but in small moments. The first time he nuzzled Eli's pocket for an apple slice. The first time he let Jess brush him while wearing a light blue cap. The first morning he stood at the fence, ears forward, watching the sunrise, not scanning for threats, just being. Years passed. Rust grew into a handsome, sturdy gelding, 15 hands, powerful shoulders, a blaze of white between his eyes like a streak of lightning frozen in time. He was never ridden, not as penance, but as honor. He'd earned his freedom, not as a wild thing running from danger, but as a creature who'd faced darkness and chosen light. Visitors came, reporters, school groups, veterans with their own invisible scars, who'd stand at the pasture gate, quiet, as Rust ambled over, nostrils flaring, calm, curious. And when children reached out, he'd lower his head, soft as breath, and nudge their palms with velvet lips. Jess would watch from the porch, coffee in hand, and say, "He's not just a horse anymore, Eli. He's proof." And on summer evenings when the desert bled gold and rose, Eli would ride out, old saddle creaking wind warm, and find Rust grazing with 2 younger rescues beside him, kicking up dust in playful circles, rearing just high enough to catch the last light on his mane. And in that moment, hooves pounding, head high, tail flying, there was no past, no tracker, no fear, just joy, pure, unburdened, chosen. One dusk as they rode back, Rust let out a soft, rolling whinny, not alarm, not plea, but presence, a sound like wind through canyon pines, like a promise kept. And Eli knew. This wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was choice. The choice to listen to a quiet pull in the chest, to value a life when the world priced it at $50. To believe that even the most broken things hold the power to mend something far greater. If this story reached into your chest and squeezed your heart, please tap that subscribe button right now, wherever you're watching. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Hit follow, ring the bell, because stories like Rust need to be told, and shared, and remembered. And in the comments, tell us, have you ever looked past the surface? Ever given a second chance to something, or someone, the world had thrown away? Your story might be the spark that ignites someone else's courage. Don't keep it silent. Let it breathe. Let it matter. Because here's the truth, whispered not in grand speeches, but in the quiet courage of a rancher raising his hand in a dusty auction house. The most valuable things in life are often disguised as burdens, and the smallest act of compassion, offered without expectation, can unravel the largest chains of cruelty.